It's Jamie Foxx, Foxhole Radio. We're getting deep right now. It's Foxhole Radio, Series 96. If you don't know, you better know. Tim Ferriss right now. Go to his podcast right now. He is the #1 podcast in the world. 70 billion downloads. 70 billion. We're closing.
I'm working on billion.
70 million. But you know what I'm saying. We on our way there. He is considered the Oprah Winfrey of audio podcasts. We're going to get to that. Let me keep on with this. You said something about the political incorrectness. You said something about what are we going through right now in the world? Because I do feel that there's a fine line. Me as a comedian, I've always, I've been put on this earth for that. I've been put on this earth to look at what is funny no matter what. Whether it's Christian, whether it's Muslim, whether it's fat, skinny, tall, short, that is my license. But right now in America, we're going through something that is incredibly weird, especially when I talk to Jay Leno. I talked to Chris Rock, who had a very, very tough time landing at the Oscars, which was tough. I thought it was the toughest job in the world for him to have to do because we want to respect Jada Pinkett Smith in that sense, but at the same time we have to do our jokes because it is. And it put him in this weird thing. What do you think we should do? Since you the Oprah Winfrey, we coming to you right now, Tim. Put us in the right light. Like, what do we need to be?
I think we should worry about helping people and not placating people.
Wow.
I think we should concern ourselves with speaking truth and not glad handing.
Wow.
And that's easier said than done, of course, but I really feel, and I've said this to friends of mine in close conversation where I live in Silicon Valley before, that I feel like comedians are the only people right now who can speak truth.
Right.
And it's just like the court jester back in the day. It was like the court jester could speak truth to the king, anyone else to have their head lopped off.
Yeah.
And that person had license. And my feeling is, hopefully we can expand that, and we need to expand that, because I've noticed among some of my most intelligent, most incisive, most influential friends, they've just opted out of the conversation because they're afraid of getting chased by the lynch mob, so to speak, for saying anything that is truth. And that's a dangerous trend. That's a very dangerous trend. And I'll just mention one more thing, which is there's a book that a lot of people read in high school called Fahrenheit 451. And these firemen run around and they burn books. Wow. And if you ask anyone who's read the book but hasn't read it in like 20 years, what do you remember of how that came to be in the book? They'd say, oh, there's this totalitarian government. The truth is, it was the people. It was the people who decided that any dissenting opinions that would offend specific groups in society ought to be burned. So it was self-inflicted.
Wow.
And I think that's what we're doing right now, is we are slowly torching the First Amendment and free speech by basically just going on these witch hunts.
Right.
And I think it's the most dangerous thing in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. And I think what's also dangerous too is sometimes the wrong people bring the message without mentioning any names. But sometimes it makes it hard when other people go so far and it ain't funny. You know what I'm saying? Like I always say like this. Yeah, we could say whatever we want to say, as long as you have it wrapped up in some sort of funny or something that gives us a little caveat of I care about you. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about you. I did a joke about Bruce Jenner early on, but the reason that the joke was there is because in comedy, if we are all equal, then that means everybody gets equal jokes. Right. Like I can't do the black joke and then not do the white joke. There was a situation when I had to host this award show. And they went through and they looked at all of our jokes, and all the jokes that were for African Americans, they were like, oh man, that is hilarious. But then the ones that weren't for African Americans, which was, some of the white people who were talking, they had a hard time with it. And I was like, listen, I said, we have to do it all across the board. Straight, gay, black, white. We have to give everybody an opportunity to get in. And they were so nervous about me doing these. But when we went out and did them, even the people that we were talking about came up and said, oh man, we loved it, because they felt like they were part of the party. And it was sort of like, I said, you got to trust the comedian that, yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. And I ask this, and I'll ask you this question. I ask you, when do you laugh at a joke your hardest? When?
When it's the most uncomfortable?
When it's not about you.
Yeah. Ah, okay, there we go.
When you laugh, oh man, them Japanese do be doing that. Yeah, man, the Mexicans do be doing that. They say black people, hey man, why are you going at us like that? It's just sort of. I want to take a break. I want to come back to that just to tie that up because I really want to get your take on it, not my take on it, on how we can navigate now through a world where we've gone too politically correct, have we? And then how do we not go too far on the other side without putting something there that's in, that makes sense, if it makes sense. We're here with Tim Ferriss. It's Foxx So Serious Radio. You better tune in right now and get your life right because he's going to come in after this and tell you how to get your life together in 4 hours. Serious 96. Jay Foxx, Foxx O. We'll be right back. Tim, what is this? What is this song?
This is Baby Metal Karate. This is
Baby Metal Karate, baby. That's what's going to be in the playlist. That's Tim Ferriss. That's Tim Ferriss. It's Foxx O Radio Sirius 96. We are getting nourished right now. We're not just having a radio show. We're getting nourished with our minds. We were just talking, before we went to break, we were talking about political correctness. Has it become too much? And you were talking about Daniel Tosh. And
I was because I think that he is... If you look at his headshot, like this is a guy who you wouldn't expect to step out and bring some of the comedy that he does. And I recall at one point before he was, I think it was before Tosh .0, but when he was doing stand up, and what I appreciated was how uncomfortable he made everyone.
Yeah.
And I just remember this one bit, and there will be a point to this, but he opened it up with, I wonder if people taste like their ethnic cuisine, and I'm gonna massacre the bit. And he's like,
no, that's hilarious.
But he's like, and like black people, like, do they taste like fried chicken?
That's hilarious.
And then everyone's like, oh, I don't know if I should laugh. I don't know if I should laugh. And he's like, no, I'll get you. Don't worry. And he's like, Chinese people, kung pao chicken. And then everybody starts loosening it up, and they're laughing. Yeah. It's audience is probably 50% white. And then he's like, and white people? He's like, no, we don't eat white people. And so they didn't get the out. They didn't get the out. So everyone's like, oh my God, was it okay to laugh? Was it not okay to laugh?
Yeah.
And I think it was Mae West who said, those who are offended easily should be offended more often.
Yeah.
And
love that.
And I think that in the U.S. right now, we were just talking on break about how the internet, I think, it's a great tool, but it's like a knife. It cuts both ways. And it can be used for harm or it can be used for good. And when every genius but every idiot has a voice,
are you a genius or an idiot?
Yeah.
It's the new T-shirt.
And everyone has a voice, right. But I think in that environment, what we've seen is that you can sacrifice, unfortunately, some people who could really contribute to society if they slip up and say one stupid thing, which we all say, but they'll get lynched, not by their peers necessarily, but people who aren't in a position and shouldn't be in a position to judge them. And so what I would say is that we have a term, social justice warrior, that's used for people who are just on the internet constantly saying, you can't say that. Like we were talking about going to like college campuses and talking about whales. Like, you're whale shaming.
Yeah, man. I'm doing a college thing and I said something about whales. And you're whale shaming. We couldn't do a joke on one of the things about sharks because some singer said she's doing the shark campaign to save the sharks, and they shut us down. We couldn't tell shark jokes.
That's unbelievable.
So what do we do? Because I'm going to let you talk.
What I think that one of the ways we could stem this tide is because I feel like there are a lot of people who can contribute to society, and we're all flawed human beings. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say stupid things. That shouldn't remove your ability to contribute to society, right? Right. Even if let's just say you're not. Let's say somebody does say something racist or sexist or fill in the blank. If they're doing incredibly valuable work like that, they shouldn't have to resign from their job necessarily for that. Now, I mean, of course, it's a question of degree, but what I would say is one of the ways I think we need to stem the tide is by using language, because that's the weapon that's being used to sort of mute freedom of speech. In other words, if someone says fill in the blank ist, they can shut you down. They can end your comedy show. Right. Well, right now we don't have a term to apply to those people who cry wolf too often and do unmitigated damage. So what if instead of social justice warrior, which sounds actually net positive, there was a term, the one that I thought of was bigoteer. So
Wow.
bigoteer is someone who tries to be a profiteer by calling other people bigots.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, those people will have a consequence for crying wolf and falsely accusing people loosely. Right. So I think that language is one of the key pieces in this arsenal because the problem itself is a problem of language. So I'm curious to see where it'll go. And also, I would just implore people, comedians and other people who are in a position where perhaps they're, say, self-employed, so they don't have or they don't perceive as many risks as someone who's in like a tight corporate structure. Speak your mind. Right. And really recognize that the downside in most cases is being judged by people you shouldn't care about impressing in the first place.
Right.
So
because there are people out there who just there are people out there who just want to do that. Like, you know, I mean, sometimes people tell me about what Foxx, what they say about you. I said, no, I don't really get into it, but he's racist. Nobody dates white girls, but then there's a Trayvon, but he's gay. And I said, man, you can't keep up with all of these things that people, and then if you say one thing, now I've always been this, even in the toughest situations where there's been situations of where either something's been said by black folks or something's been said by people that I care about, I've always been leery of someone saying something and you taking everything away from them. Mm-hmm. I remember it was, I don't know if it was Don Imus. I don't remember who it was, but I believe myself and Howard Stern were on the same page. We were on the same. First of all, huge Howard Stern fan, like huge fan of his. Howard Stern has made his living his whole life. I mean, you know, Don Rickles 2.0, if you would. And we've said some of the wildest shit on our show and on his show, but I never thought that someone should be shut completely down. If we say something, we had to own up to Miley Cyrus. We did something that she was 16. I didn't know who she was at the time. We did jokes that was, you know, we did that type of jokes. We were considered the Black Howard Stern. And once my daughter came to, Jay, why would you do that, Daddy, to Hannah Montana? And I was like, who is Hannah Montana? And we didn't know, but we did make a mistake. But what we did was we put ourselves on punishment. We went down for however many weeks, and then we came back. We made our apologies because we offended people at that time. But what we asked was, don't let us close shop. Don't let us put away our comedy swords, because that's what we're here to do. And the interesting thing about jokes is, if half the room goes ooh and half the room laughs, that's usually a successful outing with jokes.
Definitely. And I think that for those people interested, you know, one of the biggest assets and resources for me over the last decade or so has been Stoic philosophy. And so Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, it's very old, but it's actually surprisingly easy to read. And the objective of Stoic philosophy is to give you basically an operating system for making better decisions in life without being reactive. And I think that we suffer from an illusion in the U.S., which is that comfort will bring happiness. And so we want to close our sphere of comfort, if that makes sense. Whereas we should want to expand our sphere of comfort by exposing ourselves to things that are uncomfortable, by exposing ourselves to opinions we dislike, exposing ourselves to, I mentioned I was fasting for the last few days, exposing myself to hunger so that I don't fear being hungry. So that if I'm in an airport and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten in 6 hours, I should really have a Big Mac. No, you don't need to eat. You can you can go as long as you need to without eating, and developing a resilience and a strength in that. And I think that if it's very important, and you see this in, for instance, where I live, Silicon Valley, a lot, because I've been involved with tech for a long time, but you have to make mistakes, and you have to make frequent mistakes in order to learn and innovate. And language is the underlying foundation of all of that. So like you said, if someone makes a mistake and you close up shop, that is the fastest way to end learning, innovation, pushing the envelope, and healing a lot of wounds. I mean, because you take these issues and you just shove them under the surface. You don't get rid of them by muting someone.
You're exactly right. Because I would always say, like, you're taking someone out of the equation who really can help you. Like, there are really racist people. There are really bigoted people out there. But the comedian and folks who are just, like there was a situation like and I'll talk about this because it's already out there, and she's a good friend of mine. But it was Amy Pascal, and Amy Pascal, and there was this internet email thing, and people just went berserk. Oh my God, she's burning crosses. She got a white sheet in the back of her Mercedes, and I'm like, bro, look at the amount of movies that she's done that are African American. And Elijah's here. He could tell you she was the only one doing African American film. Now you take something that was out of context. If they caught me in my house talking about other races, oh man, I wouldn't be able to go to Laos. I wouldn't be able. I would talk about everybody. You know what I'm saying? But she was a great person when it came to doing African American movies. Now she's not there.
Yeah.
So now who you got? So I was like, be careful on slinging that type of rhetoric around too much, because a lot of people that are out there are going to, like I said, you're going to make a mistake every once in a while. But like I said, you shouldn't throw them overboard. It's Foxx Radio Sirius 96. We're here with Tim Ferriss. He's giving us the tools when I tell you that Oprah Winfrey is now a white man and he's on the internet. His name is Tim Ferriss. 70 trillion downloads on his podcast. And I'm going to read what it says so people don't be like, oh, Jamie Foxx was saying Oprah Winfrey's dating a white man. No, what I'm saying is how Tim Ferriss became the Oprah of audio.